Naturally, I'm sure people have told you over and over again. It's an incredible story, but what compelled you to want to disclose all this and encapsulate it in a book?
Well, Tom, I've lived a life as such. I've done so many things for so many years, most of them wrong, the majority of them wrong. And I felt that I had to be honest with the world. I had to be honest, most importantly, to God. And then thirdly, I had to be honest with myself. And I've never written a book. This is my first book, but I just sat down and I just started really freestyling and putting my thoughts. And believe it or not, even all the concussions I've had and being in a coma from getting hit by a car and cracking my head open 9 times, I got a great memory. I've been blessed to have that, and I just put it to paper. And I've actually, as strange as it may sound, I'm actually rereading it right now for the first time ever. The title is "Correcting a Reckless Life," and reckless I misspelled it, I should say, on purpose. Reckless is WRECKLESS, and then life. So it's correcting a reckless life.
Kind of a juxtaposition of terms because there's a lot of wreckage that you had to get past. You couldn't really just pin the blame on Joey Ortiz for this. You had circumstances that were overwhelming.
Yeah, I would say that I would agree with that. From having a drug-addicted, abusive dad. I was born really with nothing. We had no food, no money. My dad was gone all the time, and my mom God bless her, did a great job. But like I said, my dad was gone. I had a grandpa that worked for a beer distributor, so I had an abundance of beer. And I grew up on a street, Tom, where I was the youngest boy, and there was 5 or 6 other boys that were 5 and 6 years older than me, and they all wanted to hang out with the 8-year-old with all the beer. And that was me, and so I had a lot of peer pressure, and just doing wrong at a very early age. And I looking back in reflection, I think the fact that alcohol played such a big part of my life for 30 years, from 8 to 38, when I finally quit destroying myself. Everything, Tom. When I sat down and started writing, I just looked back briefly while I was typing, and I'm doing this as I'm doing it, and everything that happened to me negative was alcohol, whether it would be going to jail, drunk driving. I should have had 4 DUIs in high school, and by the grace of God, because I was Joey Ortiz, football star at Cordova High School, they let me go. Now, that wouldn't happen these days, but it did then. And, everything that was negative, and there's a lot of it, alcohol. You could pin it right on every single thing that I did, so.
What message are you trying to transmit to people who either are in the same condition or run the risk of it?
Well, if you're in the same condition I was in, it's a condition, Tom. It's filled with despair. It's filled with agitation. It's filled with being compulsive and addictive. And my message to them would be, you've got to find a higher power, whatever that is. If it's Jesus Christ, if it's Allah, if it's Buddha, you've got to find a higher power, and you got to quit. And you got to. When I say that, and you got to quit, you got to quit now. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, Tom, by admission, but having this thing that we have now, it's called a computer. You can go online and you can look up anything. And if you look up alcohol, or you look up cocaine, or you look up methamphetamine or marijuana for that matter, you'll all find out at some level they are all poison. Now, Tom, I'm compelled when I say this. I find it hard to believe that us, as some of us semi-intelligent like me, or intelligent like you, beings, Tom, you would never poison yourself, not in the wildest dreams. That's like saying I'm going to get up and have a bowl of rat poison for breakfast. But we don't do that, but we'll sit home and drink a case of beer, as I used to do, or snort cocaine, or, drink 2 bottles of wine with dinner. It's all poison, and if you look in the computer, you can find it yourself. It's poison. And I did that, probably 2 months into sobriety, and I just sat there for a second, and I just was like, this is profound. Alcohol is poison. Drugs, I knew were bad for you, and I knew in the long run it was going to catch up to me. I ultimately quit doing drugs because I almost had a heart attack, and it scared me straight in '05, but it's all poison. And like I said, us human beings, we get one body. It's our temple. We're supposed to put good drink in it. We're supposed to put good food in it. We're supposed to exercise our body. We're supposed to exercise our mind. And if you're doing drugs or you're drinking as I did, all you're doing is you're just destroying yourself. And if you want to kill yourself, there's quicker ways to do it. I mean, that's really the moral of the story.
Joey, in addition to your spiritual reawakening, you also have a physical reawakening, and that's this return to football. What is it about football that provides a kind of haven for you, a kind of a sanctuary?
Well, football, Tom, is something I embraced at a very young age. Like I said, there was boys, 5, 6 years older than me. We played football all day long. We didn't have a bunch of money, but we had a football, and we had dreams. And at a very young age, my dream was to play professional football. I used to watch it on TV. I used to mimic people. I'm sure you remember the name Art Monk for the Redskins. He was my idol, and he was the reason I was number 81 every year in football. When I wasn't playing quarterback, I was playing receiver. And football was my way to vent, so to speak, was my way to get pat on the back. And at a young age, I had already achieved, stardom. I started out playing Pop Warner, and the gentleman who was my coach, Mr. Belka, who's the savior and was basically really my first dad, he heard about me playing on the streets of Rancho Cordova before I even played Pop Warner. And he embraced me, and I have the picture. I could forward it to you. I'm the smallest one on the team playing the most important position on defense. And it was just funny, and that's the way it is. And football was a haven for me. It was a way to get ahead. I played, Tom, for all the wrong reasons. Ultimately, as I found out later, I played for free liquor, free drugs, and free sex. And I got an abundance of all of that at a very young age, and in high school the same. And I'm not gloating or bragging, but, focusing on free things, what I should have been focusing on things that have a lot of value. And that would have been a relationship with God, Jesus Christ, and focusing on things that, are that I got to work hard for. I always worked hard, Tom. I was always the hardest worker on the team. I showed up first. I was the last to leave the field. But I was misguided. I'd finish practice. I'd go home. I'd start drinking beer. It was, like I said, everything that happened to me, I made my own bed. I don't pass the buck, blame anybody. But it all had to do with alcohol, Tom. Alcohol was just, it was the root of all evil.
All right. Now, the book is available online or in stores?
Tom, it's available online at Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com, and it's like a 3-day shipping. Once you order it, you get it 3 days later. It's 250 pages. It's 14 chapters. Like I said, I'm sitting down rereading it right now, and it's a great book. I don't say that because I wrote it. I say it because it's full of action. It's full of suspense, and it's riveting.
We can get it right into the old Kindle, huh?
Yes, you can get it on Nook and Kindle.
All right. Joey Ortiz, Correcting a Reckless Life.